Nobody really knew at the beginning what was going on.
While we were in the middle of the sea, we heard the sirens.
I was awake from this bombing.
הילד שלי בא, העיר אותי, אמר לי, קומי, אמא, אזעקות.
He's calling us and saying, Mom, wake up, Dad, they're shooting at a deer.
I never saw something like this in my lifetime.
We said, I don't know if I will survive this.
בעצם הבנתי שהבן שלי נחטף.
He wasn't counting on always being saved. He said before the war, if I have to die for Israel, I have to die for Israel.
Sometimes you have to take decision according to your values. You don't leave people behind you.
Julie, how does it feel to be here exactly in the place on the grounds where Bar was kidnapped and taken hostage?
כשהגעתי לפה הרגשתי תחושה שאולי היה יכול להיות סוף אחר לסיפור הזה, אבל כשאני באה ורואה את בר, אני רואה את התמונה שלו ויש לי תקווה גדולה שהוא יחזור הביתה.
We look at his picture. He is so handsome. He looks so special. You can see his soul shining through his eyes. Can you tell us about Bar?
בר ילד מדהים, הוא הילד הבכור שלנו. בזכותו בעצם הפכתי לאמא. ילד מדהים, ילד מתוק שפשוט יפה בחוץ ובפנים. בוגר ואחראי ומראש על הכתפיים ועוזר לכולם תמיד, כל מי שצריך אותו. פשוט שם. לפני 4.5 שנים שבעלי עבר תאונת דרכים, וכיום הוא נכה בכיסא גלגלים, ויש לנו מטפל זר. אז בר פתאום לקח אחריות עצומה לכתפיים שלו, ובגיל 17 יצא לעבוד, לפרנס את הבית, עבד ב3 מקומות, עזר לי עם הילדים בבית. ילד קסם, ילד מתנה ממש. כזה משפחתי ודואג, ובעצם כל 4 שנים האלו פשוט עבד, וגם פה במסיבה הוא היה פה, והוא עבד פה. הוא לא בא לבלות, הוא בא להגן על אנשים, והוא ממש עשה את זה. קיבלנו ככה עדויות מאנשים שניצלו מהנובה, שהוא ממש, לפני רגע חטיפה, הוא ממש אמר עליהם, הוא ממש הגן עליהם, הגוף שלו. כאילו, החביא אותם. וגם בעצם חובש קרבי, אז גם טיפל בהם, חבש ועשה חוץ מעורקים. אנשים שחזרו בעצם מהפצועי ירי, שהוא בא וטיפל בהם, ולאחר מכן הוא פשוט ירד עם הרנג'ר שהיה לו של האבטחה, ופשוט העמיס אותם על הרכב, והחזיר אותם פה לשטח, טיפל בהם, ולאחר מכן נסע איתם למושב פטיש ככה כמה פעמים, הלוך ושוב 4 פעמים, שהמקום פה פשוט מקום סכנת חיים ממשית ויורים. הוא ידע לאן הוא חוזר, והוא חזר בכל זאת, והוא בחר להציל אנשים. זה הבן אדם. שבת בבוקר ככה, הילד שלי בא, העיר אותי, אמר לי, קומי, אמא, אזעקות. מהר התארגנו ככה, יצאנו לממד, ואז בעצם נזכרתי שבר בדרום. עוד יום קודם הוא התקשר אליי, יום שישי, בר, ואמר לי, אמא, שבת שלום. הוא אמר לי, אמא, אל תדאגי, דאגו לנו פה לדירה, אז אני לא אסע בשבת. הוא מתוק, הוא ידע כמה שבת חשובה לי. וזהו, הייתה שיחה טובה, חיובית כזאת. ונפרדנו לשלום. בבוקר בעצם הבנתי שבר בדרום, ואני דואגת, אמא דואגת. זה היה פשוט קשה, וזה שבת, אני לא יכולה ליצור איתו קשר. אז ביקשתי מעני למטפל זר של טל, שיתקשר ויבדוק מה קורה איתו. אחרי שעשרות פעמים התקשרו אליו והוא לא ענה, הייתה שיחת טלפון שהוא נשמע אחרת, אז אמרנו לו, אתה בא הביתה, אתה בא הביתה? אז הוא אמר, כן, כן. זה היה כזה, נשמע לא תקין, הבנו שמשהו לא בסדר, ולא ידענו כל הסיפור, ובעצם הוא לא חזר. קיבלנו עדות בעצם מחבר טוב שלו, דין, שבעצם חבר ילדות שהם למדו ביחד והם עבדו פה במסיבה יחד. הגיע שלב כזה שהם הבינו שזה כבר מסוכן, אז דין בא אליו, בא לבר ואמר לו, בר, בוא נברח. ובר ככה מטפל בפצועים וזה, וזה אומר לו, תעוף מפה, גם מה שהתעצבן עליו, אמר לו, תעוף מפה, אתה לא רואה שיש פה פצועים? אתה רוצה לברוח? תברח, אני נשאר כאן. דין הציל את עצמו, ברח, והוא בא אליי הביתה וסיפר לי את זה.
How does that make you feel?
קודם כל אני שמחה שהוא ניצל, אוקיי? כל נשמה של יהודי זה... וגם אני מכירה אותו, ילד מתוק, נשמה גדולה. אין לי תלונות על בורא עולם או, לא יודעת, תהיות או ספקות. אני יודעת שהוא מנהל את העולם והוא עושה את מה שצריך לעשות. אין לי שום שאלות. וככה במשך כמה שעות שאנחנו ממש תלושים, לא מבינים, כאילו אין שום מידע, הוא לא עונה בטלפון, אנחנו לא באמת יודעים מה קורה. עד בערך 12:30 שהחמאס פרסמו סרטון נוראי.
You were among the first of the families to know the fate of Bar and that there were even hostages.
בדיוק, זה היה הסרטון הראשון ששחררו. סרטון שבעצם הבנתי שהבן שלי נחטף. אחד הרגעים קשים בחיים שלי. בסרטון רואים את בר ככה שוכב על הרצפה, על הבטן, מרים את הראש, עם הידיים כפותות מאחורי הגב. והוא צועק את השם שלו. ובחדר שוכבים איתו עוד, חלקם יושבים, עוד 4 חטופים, מבועלים, מפוחדים, ממש. בר היה נראה קצת אחרת, קצת יותר מפוקס, יותר אמיץ. ואז המצלמה ככה עוברת אחד-אחד, ואז היא מגיעה לבר בחזרה, ולידו שוכב אלקנה, שהוא בעצם היה פצוע. ובר עם ידיים קשורות, והוא חובש, והוא לא יכול לעזור, והוא לא יכול לעשות שום דבר, והוא פשוט צועק על המחבלים, כאילו באיזה אומץ, איזה ילד, שפשוט סיטואציה כזאת קשה ומפחידה ונוראית, פשוט צורך על המחבלים, תטפלו בו, באלקנה ששוכב לידו, כאילו, אתה בסכנת חיים, אתה, כאילו, באמת, זה לא להאמין. ילד מדהים.
What do you know about Bar now at 9 months? You're a mother, you carry a baby for 9 months, exactly to the day. We hear booms in the background. It's 270 days, exactly 9 months. What do we know about Bar now?
אף אחד מהצעירים לא חזר, למעט המבצע הארנון האחרון, אז אלמוג היה איתו בסרטון. אלמוג חזר מהשבי והוא זכר אותו, הוא סיפר עליו שבעצם בר היה איתם ביום הראשון. אלמוג היה בבית אחר ואת בר לקחו לבית אחר גם, אז הוא לא ידע, כאילו לא יודעים עליו שום דבר.
So tell me about the project Bar Tefillin.
קיבלנו תפילין עבור בר, ואמרנו כאילו, מה נעשה עם זה, האמת שזה הברקה של ריקי.
כתבתי הודעת וואטסאפ פשוטה. שלום, ג'ולי, אמא של בר, ממש מחפשת מישהו שיניח את התפילין של בר עד שהוא יחזור. הוא כרגע לא יכול להניח תפילין, אז מישהו שמוכן להניח את התפילין שלו עד שהוא יחזור. קודם כל את התפילין של בר נתנו, אבל היו עוד עשרות פניות של אנשים שאמרו, אנחנו לא מניחים תפילין בכלל. רקמנו לכל חטוף, זה דוגמה של זיו ברמן, הוא תאום. ורקמנו לכל חטוף את הנרתיק עם השם שלו, ובפנים יש תפילין וכיפה, ויש גם סידור. וכל אדם שמתנדב לקחת תפילין מקבל את התפילין של החטוף, הוא מקבל ככה, אישי. אני מקבל את התפילין בהשאלה עד חזרתו של כל אחד. אני מתחייב בלי נדר להניח על בסיס יומי, ואם מסיבה כלשהי יפסיק, אז אני אדאג להחזיר כדי לשמור על הנחה לזכותו של אלכסנדר סשה בן ילנה לאה. זה לכל אחד, יש כזה.
And it's a contract. Like
כן,
they're signing
חוזה,
it.
כן.
והוא חותם, והוא מקבל את התפילין, והוא חותם, והוא גם מקבל את התמונה של החטוף, כדי שכל בוקר התמונה של החטוף תעמוד מול העיניים שלו, והוא יתפלל. ואנחנו דואגות שהוא גם ידבר עם המשפחה של החטוף. כלומר, זה הופך להיות קשר אישי,
כן.
ממש, וזה כל פעם מרגש מחדש.
בר לא נמצא בידיים של חמאס, בר נמצא בידיים של בורא עולם. אין לי ספק בזה. אני יודעת שהוא שמור היטב. אני רוצה קודם כל להגיד תודה לכולם על כל מה שהם עושים. עם ישראל מדהים. עם ישראל מתוק. באמת הכרתי ב9 חודשים האלה אנשים מדהימים שבאמת רק רוצים לעזור. אז אני ממש מקווה שבעזרת השם, שהשם יחזיר את כל החטופים הביתה, בריאים ושלמים, בכללם בר אברהם בן ג'וליה, יחזיר אותו בריא ושלם, שיחזור הביתה במהרה וגאולה עם המשיח. אמן, אמן.
אמן, אמן, אמן.
יהיה אור גדול לעולם. אמן. ותודה. תודה על הזכות.
Saturday morning, I don't know why, we woke up very early. We are not religious, so, you know, we went to have a nice walk along the beach in Tel Aviv. And then 6, we started to swim. Around 6:30, while we were in the middle of the sea, we heard the sirens. And I remember we stopped for a minute and we talked. And Gali asked, what do you say, Noam? And I said, listen, we are in the middle of nowhere. What can happen to us? And we continued to swim. And around 7:15, I opened my cellular phone. And then was a WhatsApp text from Amir, Dad, there are terrorists inside the neighborhood in Nahal Oz. Of course, this is something which, you know, it's a nightmare of every parent. I immediately called him. Basically, I gave him a very clear directions. I said, Amir, lock the house, all the windows, lock the doors, get into the safe room, lock the door from the inside, be quiet, I'm sending the military. From the first WhatsApp, I understood that it's life or death. And I have to be focused in order to rescue them. We are rushing home, it's about 10 minutes drive. Gali is driving and I'm texting to the Chief of Staff, to Herzi Halevi, to the Southern Commander, Yaron Finkelman, and to the Division Commander, Avi. I know all of them because they were under my command many years ago. And I text them, there are terrorists inside Nahal Oz. And the only one who answered me, 7:22 in the morning, was the Chief of Staff, Herti Halevi. He said, we know, we're sending forces. That's it.
Did you feel a moment of calm when you saw that response?
No, I served 35 years in the military. I suppose to trust the military. But something in my heart basically told me, no, you have to go there. I was under so much pressure that I didn't put my uniform. I took my pistol, which I have in license, and then Gali told me, listen, Noam, let me drive for you because you will need both hands. So we are speeding south. The next WhatsApp from Amir, 7:30 in the morning, it says, they shooting on the house. I think that there is a terrorist inside the house. And by the way, he was not mistaken. 6:30 in the morning, more than 150 well-armed Nukhba terrorists came, entered the kibbutz. They had a very good intelligence, so they went directly to the house of the Ilan Fiorentino, which is in charge of the security of the kibbutz. He went out to fight with them, this brave guy, and he's the neighbor of my son. So the whole battle was on my son's porch. We have video from the terrorists on my son's porch. So basically 7:30 in the morning, the distance between the terrorists and my family was one wall.
What is Amir and his wife Miri telling their children, Galia and Carmel, who are 3.5 and 1.5?
Basically, this was a terrible experience. In many ways, it reminds the Holocaust because, you have two very young kids that need to be quiet. So immediately the electricity fell, the cellular network fell, so they told them in a very calm voice, you have to be quiet. There are bad people outside. Don't worry, we are with you. And they were very quiet and very calm. We are speeding. Suddenly, a young couple jumping into the road. So we open the door and we shout to them, come in, come in. They jump on our vehicle. What happened? And they said, we were in the festival. Suddenly terrorists came, they slaughtered everybody. They were shaking, they shoot at their car, they run, they hide. Sometimes you have to take decision according to your values. And when you have clear-cut values, it's not a big deal. So immediately, Gali and I understood that we have to rescue them because if we will leave them there, there is a good possibility that they will die. I told Gali, let's do a U-turn, and basically we are driving back about 20 minutes. And
away from your son?
Yeah.
And your grandchildren?
Yeah, but if I would leave them there, there is a good chance that they would die. And, we see a police car near Kfar Silver, and then we stopped for a minute. We told them, call somebody from your family to come and pick you. And until then, stand near the police. And thank God, they are okay.
Did you ever get their names? Have you spoken to them since?
No, they visited us here and we become very good friends. We're coming to Sderot Junction, and now, I served many years in the military. I saw many bodies. This was part of my career. I never saw something like this in my lifetime. So the whole junction was full of burning cars, and it was all full of bodies of young people, bodies of women, bodies of policemen, bodies of terrorists. It's all mixed up. And we stopped on the side of the road. We were shocked. And basically, at that moment, it was after 10 o'clock in the morning. This area, there were no State of Israel and no IDF. The whole area south of Sderot was occupied by Hamas troops. And Gali is driving between bodies. She is maneuvering between bodies. I'm very focused with my pistol, and we are alone on the road. No military at all. And then, around noon, my dream. 3 armored vehicles with Yamam, the best elite police unit, the famous one with all the rescues, came to the junction. Those brave policemen from that unit were already after a battle in Sderot. So I'm coming to them and I'm telling them, listen, my son has a terrorist inside their house in Nahal Oz. Can you take me with you? The commander said, no, I need permission. Time is running and I'm begging, and Gali is crying, help us, take Noam. And then one brave soldier by the name of Avi, that was already wounded in the leg, not critical wounded, basically said, listen, I know Noam. When he was a division commander in Judea and Samaria, I was in Duvdevan unit. I'm going to help him. And basically, he was the first one on that day who really helped me. And then he said, but Gali need to stay here. And Gali said, no problem, I will stay here alone in this old battle zone in the Migunit, in the shelter. And Avi and I going in my vehicle south. We are driving, it's a short distance, and we are in Saad Junction. And then suddenly a military car came with young officers from the paratrooper recruit basic training, and they heard about the war. They organized themselves, and 6 officers. And we stopped them and we said, what is your mission? And they said, we heard that there are forces near Nahal Oz who need help. I said, great, let's go together. It's about 2 kilometers. We heard, again, a lot of shooting. And I look at my left-hand side, I saw Israeli jeep, about 30 meters on the side of the road, full of holes of bullets. And then because we're coming from the side, basically, just like in a movie, I saw on the one side, on the right-hand side, 5 Israeli soldiers lying, shooting, and then attacking them, about 7 or 8 Hamas. So, we stop, and we jump, Avi and myself and the paratroopers, to help. And I'm running and lying between the Israeli troops near the front wheel of the jeep. And we are under heavy fire of the terrorists. I'm turning right, and there is a fire. So with my hands, I grab, and I see it's all 3 of them are dead. Chen Buchis from Ashdod, the deputy of Maglan unit. Yiftach Yabetz from Ramat HaSharon, an officer, and Afik Rosenthal from Kfar Menachem. All 3 of them are dead. I check them. I grab them, that they will not be burned. I shut it down, and then I was fighting on my life. So I become a soldier again. I took the helmet and the M16, and now I'm the right guy on this force. And I see 2 terrorists trying to come from my side, about 10 to 15 meters from me. I pointed on the first one, I killed him. I pointed on the second one, I hit him in the shoulder, and then it became quiet. We killed about 7 or 8 terrorists there. Quiet. The road to Nahal Oz is open. One of the officers, by the name of Yedidia Srur from Jerusalem, shouting, I'm wounded, I'm wounded. I went to check him, we turned him, and he got a bullet in his belly, and he is bleeding. bleeding, bleeding. From my experience, I understood that, if we will leave him there, he is going to die. Now, this was a huge dilemma because, my mission is Nahal Oz, and my family is there under attack, and I don't know what's going on with them. But again, it goes to values. You don't leave people behind you. You don't leave people to bleed to death. So I said, okay, throw them on my jeep. So basically, Yedidia is lying, and I took 2 other soldiers. On this vehicle of Maglan unit, 5 people. 3 were killed, 2 wounded. Now I'm really rushing, speeding as much as I can. Nothing is working. The cellular phone is not working. And I'm driving. It's about 5 minutes. And I'm coming to the shelter where Gali is standing. And I'm shouting, Gali, Gali. And Gali is jumping out. I said, Gali, can you take them to Barzilai Hospital in Ashkelon? This guy is in a critical condition. And she said, yes. Later on, we went to visit Yedidia in the hospital. While he was there, his wife got birth. He got a boy.
Oh, mazel tov.
Okay. This is a crazy story only in Israel. So, 2 floors between them. And then Gali pointed on a vehicle and said, go with Israel, a hero and a friend, Israel Ziv, another major general, retired. He was my commander in the paratroopers. He heard that people need help. He took his pistol and came to help. I opened the door of Israel and I said, Israel, take me to Nahal Oz. And Israel said, 2 words, jump on. And no hesitation, he was willing to risk his life for me, and he didn't think even 1 second. The soldiers that I left behind already, moved a little bit. They killed another terrorist. And then, I coming to them and I said, come, let's go to Nahal Oz. And I'm moving to their vehicle, and I'm telling them, guys, I need a military shirt. I was afraid of a friendly fire, that they will identify me as a terrorist. And they said, we don't have any shirt, we came from home. And then one soldier, I don't remember his name, I wish he is okay, and I'm going to find him one day. He said, I don't have a shirt, but I can give you a military tzitzit. Now, I'm secular. I never wear tzitzit. And I said, yes, give me, because this is, they will identify me.
The color is khaki, and obviously tzitzit.
So I put the tzitzit on my shirt, and now I am with tzitzit, a helmet, and an M16. I have a collection of tzitziyot, because everybody is sending me tzitziyot right now.
Are you going to wear them?
I'm not wearing them, but I have a nice collection.
That's a start. That's so fun. Will you show them to us?
Somebody sent me from Ma'alot, and
Why do you think everyone's sending them to you?
I think, especially for religious people, and I highly appreciate it, this is the mission of the tzitzit, to protect you.
Correct.
We are coming to the entrance of Kibbutz Nahal Oz. It's now 1:15 p.m. And we are the first military force to come to the gate of Nahal Oz. Now, on that day, more than 500 terrorists from Gaza entered Kibbutz Nahal Oz in 3 waves. And so when we arrived to the kibbutz, they were exhausted. 3 dead, 6 wounded, and almost no ammunition. And the brave soldiers of Maglan and Sayeret Givati, they did a great work. And basically they cleaned the kibbutz. They killed more than 30 terrorists. And I joined the force of Maglan that basically went south to the neighborhood of my son. And we are going from house to house to house to house.
And you're helping them clear each house. You're not beelining right to your son.
No, no, no. No way. We are going from house to house to house to house. And just after 4, I'm coming to my son's house, and I'm going directly to the armor window of the safe room, and I'm knocking and said, Amir, the Abba. And then I hear noises from the inside, and, you know, Galia said, Saba ba. Grandpa is here, and, you know, it was a great moment. When Amir opened the door, I grabbed him, and, you know, we hugged each other, and then I got into the safe room. I hugged the girls, I hugged Miri. Everybody was very excited. And then I said, stay inside. You're not allowed to get out. Around 7 p.m., 8 p.m., we collected all the people from the neighborhood into the house of Amir and Miri. Around, you know, midnight, we met Gali, who came from Tel Aviv. 2 a.m. in the morning, we were all here. We took the girls, put them into bed.
22 hours later.
We were lucky. And if there is one thing that I am so proud that I didn't leave anyone behind me, not the couple from the festival, not the wounded soldiers, and of course the whole members of Kibbutz Nachal Oz. And I would like to say thank you from the deep of my heart to the brave soldiers of Mishmar HaGvul, Yamas Darom, to the brave people of the Kitat Konenut of Kibbutz Nachal Oz, and to Maglan unit, and to Sayeret Givati unit. Unfortunately, some of the brave soldiers who rescued Nachal Oz got killed later in Gaza. And we are keeping in touch with all the families. Thank you. Thank you very much, guys.
At the same time that we've been shocked by the depravity of Hamas, we've also been inspired by the bravery of Israel's citizens.
I was especially moved by the story of a retired general named Noam T-Bone.
The grandfather who drove over an hour to a kibbutz under siege, armed only with a pistol, and rescued his kids and grandkids.
And when the general arrived at their house, one of his granddaughters just said, "Grandpa's here." And these are rays of hope in a terrible week.
Iris Chaim, you have emerged as a voice of love and unity and strength and joy since October 7th. Where does this strength come from?
Wow. I think I have a ability to be very calm in very difficult situation. I am a palliative care nurse. I took care of people, dying people, and I needed to be very strong there. And I think the most important thing is that I had Yotam, my son. He taught me a lot. Because Yotam, it's difficult to say he was, because you see he's here.
He is everywhere here.
He's everywhere. I
Yes.
didn't do for my house like a museum. I didn't want that it will look like a museum. But yes, he's here, and not just in pictures, I feel him. During his 28 years, he dealt with depression, with anxiety. He had eating disorder, post-trauma, stress, anorexia, OCD, many things. And to be able to be a good mother, I think, I needed to practice a lot of how to be more compassionate to him, not to judge him, not to be angry.
Can you take me back to October 7th in the morning?
Yes. In October 7th, Yotam, he was living by himself in kibbutz Kfar Aza. The Gaza border is 700 meters away, but it's very close.
Right. You could almost see it from there.
Yes. But I can say that he lived there for a few years, and we were never afraid that he's there. And in the 7th of October, in 6:29, as all the area were bombed, I was awake from this bombing, and Yotam, he started to send us messages. But later on, he understood that there were terrorists in the kibbutz.
יש מחבלים בתוך הקיבוץ. חדירה.
He wrote us a lot of messages. We have all the messages. We have a lot of videos from this morning. We didn't believe that it's inside the kibbutz. We thought that it's behind the border. But actually there were 800 terrorists in kibbutz Kfar Aza, and most of them came through this fence near Yotam's house. So they were the first level, and until exactly 10:44, he was talking to us. He was telling us what is going on. He said that there are terrorists inside his house. They are shooting on his door. They are burning the house, and he's afraid. He don't have air to breathe, and he's afraid not to survive. He said, I don't know if I will survive this. I love you. I want to say that I love you. I just hope to survive.
זה הדבר הכי הזוי בעולם. אני מוצא את עצמי משחיז סכיני סושי. כשאני שומע על נגמ"שים ויריות תת מקרא בתוך הקיבוץ, ואני יודע שיש אנשים פצועים ואין עדכונים. בקיבוצי סמוכי הגדר, the absurd is never absurdy enough.
At 10:44, he disappeared. There was no contact. We didn't know about Yotam anything for 3.5 weeks. So it's not just the same day, but it's all the 3.5 weeks that we needed to survive with our thoughts. Half of the neighborhood was killed in this morning. Few of them was kidnapped, and few was staying with their parents. And every day we got a message from another family that they found the body. I decided that until I don't know anything, I will believe that Yotam is alive, and I will not wait to the army to knock on my door. I will be very positive, and I believe that Yotam is a very funny person. He had a lot of humor, that he's using his humor and his musical powers. And Tuval said, first day, he said, poor misken Yotam. Why to him? It's happened misken. Because of all his problems in life and so much pain that he suffered. And I said to Tuval, Yotam lo misken. Yotam is not poor, he's not miserable. And don't speak about him like this. If there is somebody that will survive, so Yotam will survive. Because Yotam is very, very strong. And then we got the film from the security camera of kibbutz Kfar Aza, that we saw Yotam, how they took him. He was walking, they hold him, and like this, with his gingy head, walking without a shirt. And when I saw it, it was 5 weeks after, so we see now, So we have a chance. And then in the 15th of December, it was Friday, 5 women came inside the house, delegation, very frightening. And this was a black evening, when they told us that Yotam was killed by IDF.
A stunning admission from the Israeli military.
3 hostages were killed by Israeli fire
after mistakenly being identified as Hamas fighters.
Authorities now saying the men called out for help in Hebrew as IDF forces approached.
We couldn't understand. I was alone then, and afterwards my son came to Val and Noya and Raviv, just join me later. And it was terrible. There are no words to describe, just to describe like a big hole, big dark hole that I wanted to jump to. All my hopes, all my beliefs, all my faith, everything was crushed and disappeared. And we cried. The story is that the three of them, after 5 days, they reached 17 battalion. And they did amazing things.
You're saying they were on the run for 5 days.
5 days.
Trying to get home.
Yes, 5 days. I don't know exactly what they did there, but we have information about these 5 days. What they did, they left signs, 3 hostages, help, and the army saw it, and but didn't understand that it's really hostages. The soldiers, they got an order that they need to shoot everybody that's walking. They don't need to check, just shoot. And first, Alon and Samer was killed immediately. And Yotam was wounded. He ran away and hid in a building. And there was a tank nearby. The tank was told to shoot missile on the building and to
level it.
Yes, on Yotam. But in the last minute, before they did it, somebody understood that Yotam is not a terrorist. And he said, stop fire. And the tank heard it. Then they called Yotam to come out. And Yotam went out. And one soldier didn't hear. And he shot him. So Yotam was really close to be alive. We were broken. Like a battery, we were on 0. When we arrived to my therapist, she did something. In this therapy session, we heard Yotam saying that it was he chose to run away, he chose to try to come back to us, but he took the responsibility of maybe he will not succeed to be alive, but he don't want to die by Hamas and in captivity, that he preferred to die as a free person. And then it was like the beginning of the way to go out of the hole, the darkness, and to see different way to speak about Yotam and to speak about him about his bravery, about his way.
It seemed to us, from the outside looking in, that almost immediately you came out as a strong, clear voice and said to the soldiers, I don't blame you, I love you, I want to hug you. And you invited them to your home.
Yeah. Yes. It happened in the Shiva, when the wife of the officer, she came. There were thousands of people every day coming to us. And she waited in the line. People waited 4 hours just to talk to me. And she said that the army, the soldiers are broken, they cannot fight, they cannot continue. And we are in the middle of a war. What we will do without the soldiers? And then immediately I said that I want to talk to them, and I recorded this recording. Next day, there came 4. There was one that shot Yotam, one. We didn't know who. I know a lot of things about why. I'm very spiritual also. And I think Yotam, it was the way that he came here for this time, for 28 years, and to do here something. And that's the way that I can also live with this. And I'm proud, I'm full with proud of Yotam. And I feel him also, so I know that he is here. Nothing is important after what's happened to us. What's important is that we must be together against our enemies, and that our enemies are using us, these divisions against us. And I feel that my heart was like, I don't know how, but it like open now to everybody.
Yes.
I don't mind if you are religious or not religious. The most important thing that you will speak in honor to each other, and you will listen to the other voices without hate. And this is, I think, what Yotam wants me to do here.
When you move with a 4-year-old, you're not really thinking what's going to be when they're 18 and going to the army. They're kids. Like, you don't think about these things. I mean, as a mother, I just kept saying, like, you don't know that you're going to always be saved. Like, you know, like, you don't know when your 9 lives are going to run out. But he wasn't counting on always being saved. He said before the war, if I have to die for Israel, I have to die for Israel. He just did what he believed needed to be done. And it was constant, like, just really feeling like he's in God's hands.
So now I understand Binyamin had a lot of energy, he was very rambunctious. Talk to us about his personality growing up.
Lots of energy as a young child and as an older child. He just was a doer. He was a doer. And he was active in every sport and every skill and every breakdance, every soccer game, every gymnastics.
That sounds wonderful.
It was amazing.
And he went to high school in Eilat, eventually settling there.
Eventually. That was, I think, like his 7th school overall by the time we got there. That's how he knows half the country. Like, they all know him because he's been in every school.
Hundreds of friends everywhere, and now thousands of family and friends.
Everywhere we would go. Yeah. I mean, we would go to, you know, Tveria, we would go to anywhere. He always bumped into people he knew.
It seems like he lived life to the fullest.
He had so much joy in life, zest for life. He really lived life.
So post high school, he went directly to the army?
No, he went to Hesder Yeshiva in Tzfat. From down to up, and that was also amazing, amazing, amazing. It's the most magical place, so spiritual, special, welcoming. So he was involved in a farm that he would volunteer at, and so when he would sit and learn, and when he couldn't sit anymore, then he would go to the farm, work the land, and then come back to yeshiva, and this is how he spent his time.
He was very connected to the land.
Yeah.
So let's talk about his army service. Did he know what he wanted to do?
So he knew he wanted to be in an elite unit in the army. Okay. And because he knew he was capable. Like, he knows the strengths. He went to the paratroopers, and then he wanted to test to go higher up for Sayeret, but then he really liked the guys he was with, and he said, I'm going to stay with them.
That's so important.
Yeah.
Was he serving then on October 7th?
He wasn't even home on October 7th. He was on the farm for Simchat Torah. As soon as, you know, we saw everything going on here and the cars pulling out with soldiers in them, I already knew that Binyamin was also going. So he called that night to say he got to his army base up north, and then they were helicoptering them down south, and he was gonna let me know when he could. Nobody really knew at the beginning what was going on, right? Like, that first night, I mean, news was just starting to come out, and nobody even grasped like the extent of the atrocities. After that day, Binyamin, all he wanted to do was go into Gaza. Like, he just kept saying, we just have to go already, we just have to go already. Our blood is boiling now and we can't let it cool down. He was like very, you know. So they went down south right away. And while they were down there, I mean, all of us, we were all petrified, absolutely petrified. But it was so unknown. We didn't even know what we were petrified of. We couldn't even understand. Just really feeling like he's in God's hands. There's nothing that we can do other than pray and try our best. So his friend comes back into the army Friday night. They're all together. And then they heard that there was a battle taking place. The terrorists ran into a house, shooting at some soldiers, and their team was now called in. Binyamin starts going into the house and they're throwing grenades and they're throwing RPGs to try and get rid of the terrorists without actually, you know, face-to-face combat. And Binyamin actually slipped. And there was a grenade that like landed right next to him. And they told me that Binyamin just got up, walked out, grenade goes off, and then he goes back into the house. Like, he's very calm. He's like a chiller. Like, things don't faze him. Like, when everyone gets all hysterical, he just like goes, we know of so many stories. He could have had himself killed. And he was just always saved. He was always saved, and he always did what he needed to do, regardless of if it meant that he would die, because that's what he felt was needed.
That kind of feeling about him, so going into the army, probably kept you sane and safe and secure in some ways.
I mean, as a mother, I just kept saying, like, you don't know that you're going to always be saved. Like, you know, like, you don't know when your 9 lives are going to run out. Like, but he wasn't counting on always being saved. He said before the war, if I have to die for Israel, I have to die for Israel. He just did what he believed needed to be done.
As a mother, how do you respond to that? What does that type of statement do to you?
On one hand, panic, like, because it means that he's willing to risk his life. On the other hand, like, this is what he believes in. Do you want to tell your kid not to believe that that's the ideal? With all the RPGs and grenades, they thought that they killed everybody. It was quiet, but they found one terrorist on the floor, but another one was hiding behind a couch and killed all 3 of them. But this is it. You see, when they pulled Binyamin out, they said he had a smile on his face. He went in with a smile and came out with a smile, like he knew what he was doing. He believed in it. He believed that this is what has to be done. This is a decision that Binyamin, if we would have asked him to not do, he would have done anyway. Like, this is what he believes in. And, you know, sometimes I think, well, why do you have to volunteer? But that's because this is what Binyamin does. He always volunteers. He always just does. And he's just the kind of guy that says, that has to get done. I'm just going to go do it. Our family life has not only been changed, our home life has not only been changed, like our whole mission statement has been changed.
There is a clip of you that has gone viral that it is so hard for me to watch. I don't know if you've watched it.
I can't.
Everyone came out, it felt like not just the entire neighborhood, it felt like the entirety of the Jewish people that were capable of lining the streets on the way to Binyamin's funeral did so. In the pouring rain, and they're singing, and you are singing, and your hands are like a power and a strength sinking with them. It feels like you're bringing God down into this world for this moment. Was it an out-of-body experience? Do you remember what you were doing?
I remember. I don't have any words. It just happened. Meaning, I remember we were coming down the stairs to go into the van, and I just literally said to family members, hold on. And I just went, I don't know, said that they need this. Sefer Gesher HaChaim says that the neshama knows 30 days before. And to me, I saw that. And when he went in to battle with a smile on his face, he knew where he was going. And I think that was the look he gave me when he said goodbye. And I had a feeling. I know that sounds crazy, but on that Shabbos morning, I also had my experience.
So walk us through that Shabbos morning. You're in shul, you're in synagogue.
I'm at synagogue, and regular prayers Shabbat morning, and then they read the Torah, and I was feeling like I need to just get home. I started feeling choky. I had to just get home, very antsy. I just needed to like come home and start praying, Psalms, anything. I came home and I'm just hysterically crying. And my poor little 10-year-old, she's holding me, she's putting her arm around me. And I don't know what to tell her, I'm just crying and I'm praying. And then calmed down, pulled ourselves together, and Shabbat lunch, everything regular. And then Shabbat afternoon, we got the knock on the door. The notorious army knock. And I guess, when I asked them, like, when did it happen? That was pretty much my first question, because that just felt like I had experienced something. And they said the battle took place between 9:30 and 10:30 in the morning, which was that time. And then you have to like wonder, what were all the prayers for? What do they do, right? If that's when that's not when he died. That was, I didn't know I was praying to save his life. I think my prayers did a lot. Of course. There were so many blessings. I know my prayers were answered. I mean, he died instantly. He didn't suffer. We got to have a funeral when we wanted to. We got his belongings. We got to know exactly how he died. I mean, these are all things that we can't even take for granted in this war.
I'm gonna miss your bright smile. I'm gonna miss your hug when you come home. I guess I'm gonna miss you coming home. You're my wine, you're my dark beer buddy. I've literally kept the beer in the fridge waiting for you to come home so we can drink together.
He died doing what he wanted to do. He died, and if we would have asked him, can you not, he would have done it 1,000 times over. Some things God just says, I know better than you. And this is one of them. And he said, I know better than you, that this is why he has to go, and I need him next to me, and I need him, I don't have his answers, but Benjamin was a mover and shaker down here. He's definitely a mover and shaker up there.
I have no doubt.
Oh my gosh, I know. I know he's very busy.
And I have no doubt where he gets it from, by the way.
We cry and we celebrate. We have a broken heart and a full heart. We just carry it all.
הכל מהקדוש ברוך הוא, הכל לטובה, everything's okay, and we'll pass it.
Rabbi Berg, the CEO of Aish, has said the broken heart of a Jew is the most powerful thing that we have, that from there comes the rebuilding, from there comes the future. As you and your husband have said, Lema, for what and what purpose? How do we find the joy? How do we find the salvation, if you will, after this trauma and the loss and the horrors and the pain? So you have Benjamin's house, Beit Benjamin. Tell us about it.
So, as you said, a lot of it is how can we help the situation? What can we do to try and fix on whatever level we can? These soldiers are not dying for themselves. They're not trying to just protect themselves. They're there for the nation. And our job is also to help the nation, but the living ones, right? And so this Beit Benjamin house up in Tzfat, that is now a retreat center for soldiers or any people who are directly affected with trauma, where they will come and relax and be pampered. We built it to be Airbnbs. It was supposed to be vacation rental units. And now we changed paths and said, this is what we need now, and this is what our soldiers and Zaka members and Mada members, and this is what's needed. So they'll come and they'll be pampered. The place is beautiful, with a beautiful, breathtaking view of the Meron Mountains. And, good food and all that sort of stuff, and therapies, art therapy and playback and all of that, and tours of Tzfat. There's a spa there. And then it's also combined with Torah, where they'll come and people have been experiencing soulfully needing to reconnect. We're all in this together. Everyone is, I know he's my boy, but Beit Benjamin is really everyone's. I'm so honored to be his mother and be part of our nation that's doing all this. And there's a lot of God's hand involvement, and I get kisses all the time. Yes.
Adir was born in New York.
Our first baby.
First baby.
And tell him how much you wanted a boy.
And this boy looked exactly like you.
He's like my brother. Exactly. It's like a copy, like a mini-me. And then by the age of 4, we decided that with all the problems that we have here and all the headaches and everything, you know, the best for our kids is going to be in Israel.
Do you regret that decision now?
No, because I believe in, you know what's maktub? Maktub?
Fate.
So it could have happened here, it could have happened in New York or in New Jersey, all over. It's maktub, that's his life, you know, he was born, the day he was born, he had a expiration date, okay? He was serving in the army, in the special forces. He could have died earlier, but his maktub was the Nova Festival.
He was chubby.
He was a chubby guy.
Really?
He was chubby.
But did you eat him up? Like I love chubby kids.
Always. When he was 13, he started looking into skateboard. And then from there, he went into the surfing world. And then he disappeared. Like the ocean was his second home. There was like a surfing club. So they actually grew up there.
He was a good kid. We have all together like 3 boys and a girl. So he was. They were looking at him as like as the Adir, you know.
Let's talk about that night.
It was a holiday.
October 6th,
we sat outside.
Simchat Torah.
It's like last meal, all of us together.
It was very short because Adir said by 9 his friends were going to come and we have to drive. It turned out that they are at that stage that everybody's either in college, you know, 23, 24.
Starting their life.
This is like a last hurrah before everyone
starts to go. So they said, let's do something
a
moment before everybody gets.
And it was a big party. "7:01 in the morning is sending a message on WhatsApp that everything is fine, we're like a small shelter next to Reim. And then 7:10, Liran is calling us. My second son, he was in vacation from the army, and he heard about everything, so he made a U-turn and went back home. And he's calling us and said, listen, Mom, wake up, Dad, they're shooting at Adir. Last text message was to Liran, and it was on 7:28. Matan is dead. Sela is dead. I don't think I'm going to get out of here. I love you.
I love you all.
When Adir didn't answer on the WhatsApp anymore, so I moved to Yuli, his girlfriend, and she's answering. I'm writing, what's with Adir? And she goes, we got separated. And she goes, send some forces, send someone, because I hear Arabic outside of the shelter, and they're gonna come and murder us. At 7 o'clock at night, I'm calling her mother, and she goes, okay, she's home. Like a force of paratroopers came and took the 3 of them, 3 girls that that stayed in the shelter, and drove them away to Moshav Patish. And they're safe, they're alive, 3 of them. By the way, Sela is alive as well. One of the boys is alive. He got 4 bullets on his body, but he's alive, he's with us, he's stronger, he's getting stronger. I called Yuli, and she's not answering at 7 o'clock at night. I'm calling and calling and calling. And then her mother took the phone and said, listen, she's hysterical, crying, and you know, she's out. And so I told her, okay, give me the other girl's telephone. I wanna know what's going on. So they gave me their number, and I started to investigate them. I called and said, Romy, okay, it's Alon, Adir's father. I want to know everything. She goes, I don't have good news for you. So I don't care, no, I want to hear it. 5 of them, they were in the shelter, and they heard the terrorists coming closer to the shelter, And Adir and Eli decided to go out and fight them without weapons, nothing, just bare hands. The minute that a leg of a terrorist went into the, just his leg, into the shelter, Adir and Eli was looking at each other like for a brief second, and they were pushing him outside. And then they heard shooting and shouting and whatever, you know. Then I said, okay, you heard it, and then Israeli force came and took you out. Did you see bodies? And she goes again, I don't have good news. I said, I want to hear. Did you see the body? And she said, yes. I said, okay, thank you, I love you, bum. He would never die for nothing.
Enough, exactly.
You understand? He would never allow a terrorist coming into the shelter
and killing
throw a grenade or shooting at him or taking him alive to Gaza as an hostage. Never. He would fight. He would have fight. And that's what it is. He had a huge funeral, huge.
On Sunset, Tuesday, but Sunset.
Sunset.
We
needed
the
a sunset for him. Yesterday I wrote on Facebook that I miss his hug.
I used to jump on him on the couch, just eat him up. And it's crazy, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's just not here.
It's in the memories.
Okay.
It's in the memories. At the first day of Shiva, we decided as a family we're going to continue living.
We're sitting in the Shiva. All his friends are not here with us. They're all drafted.
Adir was served in Yechidat Yalom, which is a commando unit. And most of his friends were in Julie's camp in the south. One of them sent me a video of a big wedding in Julie's. Tons of soldiers, hundreds, maybe 1,000 soldiers.
People were desperate to have something to celebrate at this time.
They needed, they needed it. And a day after, I'm working in the Diamond Exchange in Ramat Gan. I'm sitting in my office. Our third son was sitting with me. And I'm sitting in my chair and I'm looking again at that video. And I'm calling Or and I'm telling him, listen, I want to donate a ring to the first soldier that is going out for a vacation. Let's say there's a soldier that go out for vacation for 24 hours, 48 hours, and he want to get engaged. Yeah. I'm giving him the ring for free.
It just came to you.
Just came to me. It just
one
came
ring,
to me.
one soldier.
One ring, one soldier. Just give him a hug and go build the house. I'm writing on Facebook, and like 6 minutes after, someone is calling me and she's telling me, listen, I have the right guy for you. He's out for 24 hours. His name is Dor Zimmer. Dor calls me. He goes, I want to get engaged. And I said, okay. So he came over at 5 o'clock over here, full of dust. I gave him the ring. I gave him a hug.
I was going to say, did you hug him?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I hug everyone. For me, giving the soldiers a hug is like giving Adir a hug. Yes. So, and then he left and he got engaged. And after that, at 7:30, they came here with his parents. We had l'chaim. Dor was supposed to get married at the 7th of June, June 7th. And like 2 weeks before that, a missile took his life off in the north. I had an intention to start with one, just like a win-win situation, you know, and all that. Then the second day, someone else is calling me. I said, listen, I gave the ring already. So he said, please, I need it. I want to get engaged. I said, you know what? Come over, take a ring. So he came and took a ring, left. And then another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. I said, whoa, what's going on here? There's something good is going on here.
But you kept going.
I kept going.
Pain, I feel like you just keep giving. You're over 100 diamonds now.
102, and I hope it's going to be thousands. My goal was to build new homes in Israel for those couples. That's how we win. Building homes in Israel.
October 7th changed the Jewish people and the world forever. The stories you just heard reveal but a fraction of the horror, courage, and resilience individuals, families, and communities experienced that fateful day. 1 year has passed since October 7th, 2023, but the Jewish people continue to battle existential threats of terrorism and rampant anti-Semitism in Israel and around the globe. But you can make a difference. To find out how, please visit oct7film.com and join me and thousands of people taking responsibility to stand up for the Jewish nation.